The following stories are from members of Hanmaum Church in South Korea. They aired on a Korean Christian TV network called C Channel and were dubbed in English. Sometimes you hear things like, ladies just need to be pretty, then they can get anything they want. I also used to think that looks were everything in this world. I was obsessed with how pretty I should be and judged people solely based on their appearance. Then I met the risen Jesus and came to regard other souls with his heart. I'd like to share my story with you. 5-year-old kids tend to dissolve into tears at the sight of needles, right? But as for me, I loved the sight of my mom's shiny earrings so much that I went with my cousin to get my ears pierced willingly at that age. I was a little kid, and the idea of puncturing my skin was scary and painful for me too. But I thought that the shiny jewels on people's ears looked so pretty that I refused to shed a single tear as I endured the pain. I began to really take interest in my appearance when I was in middle school. I felt very confident because I was tall and thin. When other kids were getting tutored after school, I was at the sewing machine, making all of my clothes fit tighter. I even wore 4-inch heels. My school had a dress code, and our hair couldn't go past a certain length. However, I just could not cut my long hair. I did everything I possibly could to sneak my long hair past the dress code inspection. Even if I got caught and was punished, I never ever cut it. But if there was just no other way and I did get to a point where I had to cut it, I got extensions. My hair is naturally straight, but in order to have perfectly straight hair, I used a hair straightener every single day. After school, I took my straightener to the bathroom and gave my hair a rich wave. During vacations, I would dye my hair red, orange, gold, etc. After graduating from high school, I began to lose all my baby fat. As a result, I developed double folds on my eyelids. Then people began to treat me differently, and I thought, wow, okay, and got a nose filler too. Then people began to treat me even more differently. I'd heard that all women needed was to be pretty, but after I'd experienced that saying for myself, I realized to the core of my bones that beauty was very important. That was how I began to get obsessed with my appearance. I endured any sort of pain to be beautiful. I got a nose job, and after the surgery, I had to sleep sitting up for a week straight. I couldn't lie down at all during that time. As a result, my body ached everywhere. But when I pictured myself looking beautiful, the pain didn't seem like a big deal at all. People who have gotten nose jobs say that it's the riskiest and the most painful kind of plastic surgery there is, and that they never want to go through it again. But I thought that I'd gladly do it again if I had to. I thought it was a given that you should go through that much pain to become beautiful. I thought that the pain was worth it. To have a lean body, I would pinch the fat on myself wherever I saw it. I pinched myself so much that my legs were black and blue with bruises every single day. I also once got a piercing on my ear and it got infected. My ear was ballooning up to a terrible size and blood and pus were oozing out. The earring itself was buried somewhere under all that swelling. I had to take the earring out and get the infection treated, but I refused to take it out until the very end because I didn't want to give up how pretty the earring looked whenever it showed through my hair. I've steeled myself through piercing my own ears in 5 different places. Another time, I was playing the lead role in a play at school when I was a university student. The lead character had blonde hair, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me to bleach my hair. So, I bleached my own hair 5 different times. The hair salon refused to do it because it was too dangerous. My scalp felt so hot, and it felt like it was melting off. It was painful, and there was blood and pus. My hair strands melted, withered, and broke off. Some even just crumbled. But I couldn't stop bleaching my hair because I wanted to be blonde. I gladly accepted any and all suffering so that I could become beautiful. In this way, my head was filled with nothing but thoughts about my looks. As a result, my values and perspective were all based on people's appearance. I believed that dating, marriage, getting hired, etc. all depended on what you looked like. I began to judge people based on their looks only. I'd become a total bigot in terms of appearance. I thought that if you're born female, your duty in life was to maintain your looks, and I thought that women who didn't make themselves up shouldn't be valued as women. It wasn't your fault if you're born unattractive, but what I couldn't understand was why you wouldn't try to make yourself up if you weren't pretty. Of course, I thought the same way about men too. Wherever I went, I was busy rating my appearance among the crowd. If I thought someone was unattractive, I judged them and laughed at them inside my mind, and I felt superior to them because I felt like I outshone them. I would get extremely envious of people whom I thought were prettier than me. On one hand, I didn't want to accept the fact that they were prettier than me, so I would try very hard to look for any faults they had. In this way, looks were everything to me, so it was obvious that I judged people by their looks as well. I ended up taking a break from my university studies and I was doing nothing at home. Then one day, my mom offered to pay for me to get my teeth straightened if I went to church and had fellowship with some of the church kids. Well, I wasn't doing much, and I wanted to get my teeth straightened so badly that I very, very gladly said yes. That was how I came to meet the girls in my small church. These girls all told me that Jesus had risen from the dead and that he was our Lord. They told me that I had to believe in this risen Jesus as my Lord too. But I didn't listen to them at all, because I was very satisfied with my life and I really didn't want to live like these girls. They seemed like they weren't able to enjoy the things that their beautiful youth had to offer them. More than anything, I thought that having Jesus as Lord meant that I had to give up my entire youth and all of my life's pleasures. I really hated the thought of that. My life belonged to me, and I should live it however I wanted. I couldn't understand these girls, but still, I needed to stick with them till I was done getting my teeth straightened, so I got to hang out with them and watch them from a close distance. And they were so strange. Nobody had told them to do the things they did, and nobody cared if they did, but they did everything so willingly and so joyfully. I felt like these girls had such an incredibly clear sense of purpose in their lives for some reason. So many young people today lived without a clear purpose in life, but they were living so passionately for something. I envied them a little for that, and I began to get curious about what motivated them. These girls told me that God had given everyone a proof they could believe in him with. That proof was Jesus' resurrection. Then they showed me a lot of evidence that Jesus' resurrection was a true fact. When I saw all those countless pieces of evidence, it became so clear that Jesus' resurrection was a historical fact that I couldn't deny it. I had been someone who thought that faith was for people who were anxious and weak. However, Jesus' resurrection was a sure, clear fact that would never ever change, no matter what people were like. If that was the case, then God did really exist, and all the words in the Bible were true. An eternal heaven existed, and so did an eternal hell. At that moment, I thought, then should I keep living my life like this? And then I read a verse in the Bible that said that everything in this world, the world I could never ever give up, was futile. Also, Jesus had said that this world was complete darkness and that there was true peace and joy in him. The moment I read that verse, I thought, this youth and beauty that I've been hanging on to with everything I have will all be gone in 10 years' time. So why have I been so hung up on these things? What'll I do after they're gone? I began to think about whether I was missing out on eternity because of the things that would rot away. I grew scared that I might keep living in this dark world, mixed up in it and dulled, without being able to tell what was and wasn't darkness. So I prayed, if I really am being deceived, please let me no longer be deceived by this world and see the light. Please let me meet Jesus. But no matter how much I acknowledged the resurrection as fact, I just couldn't believe in Jesus as my Lord. It seemed like that was the one thing I couldn't do. There were so many things to enjoy at my young age, and there were so many more things I hadn't enjoyed yet. There were things you could only do while you were still young. I felt like I would have to give up all of those things without having tried them, so obviously I didn't want to believe in Jesus as my Lord. Then during one worship service, the pastor said that Jesus' disciples had been exposed to countless miracles and amazing experiences, but that they had all fled in the face of his cross. They had even cursed and sworn as they ran. But after these disciples met the risen Jesus, their faith never wavered or changed, even until they were martyred, and they had been martyred confidently and bravely. I hadn't really thought about martyrs before, but I was completely shocked when I saw a video clip about how the disciples and members of the early church had been martyred. They had died in unspeakably awful ways, worse than what you see in graphic horror movies. But what was even more shocking was that they were so joyful even as they were dying like that. This was something that just couldn't happen in this world. The disciples really had seen the risen Jesus, and this world didn't have anything of value for them anymore. It was because they had seen eternity. The moment I saw how these disciples had lived, eternity became real for me too. And it became clear to me that the resurrection was a sure proof, incomparable to any other sign or experience. I had heard so many times that Jesus' resurrection was the proof given to everyone, but I finally understood these words in that moment. God had given me such a sure proof, but I had refused to believe in Jesus till the very end. As I realized that, I came to stand before the risen Jesus. The Creator God was someone to be praised forever, but I, a mere creation, had been ignoring and belittling him. He had hung on a cross for me, but I'd been spitting on him and telling him that my youth was mine, that I should be able to use it however I want, and that he shouldn't be taking it away from me. I'd been trampling on precious souls that had been bought with Jesus' blood by judging them by their looks. It had been the same thing as killing them in my heart. I had to repent where I was. God, I'm so sorry. You love me so much that you died and rose again to give me sure proof, but I didn't believe in Jesus as my Lord. I'm so sorry. Then God told someone like me that everything was okay and that all he wanted from me was my heart. I realized then how incredibly and incomprehensibly big and amazing his love was, and my heart broke at the fact that there was nothing I could give him except for the place in my heart for him to be my Lord. He told me that he would give me all the authority of being his child if all I gave him was my heart. But I couldn't easily accept the privilege given to me. I felt so undeserving and unworthy, and I didn't think that I had the right to enjoy that authority. But God still told me that my confession alone was more than enough. I so sincerely confessed that Jesus was my Lord and received him into my heart. I had thought that I would have to give up and lose everything when Jesus became my Lord, but that wasn't the case at all. Rather, Jesus had saved me when I was about to live the rest of my life for things of darkness that would rot away. Worldly pleasures were all I had in my life, but those pleasures would fluctuate based on circumstances and situations until they all eventually rotted away. But the joy in him was something that would never fluctuate based on circumstances and situations. It was a true and eternal joy. Also, I realized that when he told me not to love the world, it wasn't to pressure me or force me, but that he was telling me those words because he loved me so much. When I believed in Jesus as Lord, my value system was completely overturned. I had thought that being pretty was everything, and before, I couldn't be happy with my face and kept wanting to fix it. But now, I've become happy with what I look like. That's because it doesn't matter what I look like on the outside. God only looks at my heart, and all I have to do is please him. I want his compliments about what a beautiful heart I have, rather than people's compliments about my looks. I also no longer put my body through pain for the sake of beauty like I used to, because I have a precious, God-given body that must carry out his mission. Before, I used to take 2 to 3 hours just to get ready to go outside. That's become shorter and shorter on its own. I use the time I have to share the gospel together with my church members instead. Doing God's work has become a more valuable way to spend time for me than making myself up. I'm currently majoring in acting at the Department of Drama and Film. I used to dream of becoming a beautiful actress first and a good actress second. But acting is a God-given gift as well, so my dream now is to become an actress who reveals only God through herself.
Amen.
I now delight in a happy life together with my small church friends, a life of joy that can't be found anywhere in this world. My friends had prayed for me in tears when I had not wanted to believe in Jesus as my Lord and when I had still loved the world. I feel so secure because they are always with me, my eternal heavenly family. We've become sisters who love each other enough to lay our lives down for each other, just like Jesus loves us. I no longer judge my church members by what they look like. They all look infinitely precious and lovely to me, and I'm awed by how God made each of them look so different. I was someone who judged people only by appearances, but now I've become someone who looks at souls with Jesus' heart. I used to think that youth and beauty were the greatest blessings in life, but now I consider the fact that Jesus met me when I was still young to be the greatest blessing. I was going to live the rest of my life hung up on things that belong to darkness, which will rot away. Then God let me have hope in eternal things and live as the Lord's child, and I'm so grateful. I give my youth and my life to the Lord. Thank you. If you'd like to see more stories about how the gospel changed lives, visit us at facebook.com/HMUOnlyJesus or Google us at HMU Only Jesus.